Hi, folks. Welcome to Daily Grizz, your daily roundup show of all things football, all things Premier League. Well, not exclusively Premier League, but mostly Premier League. You're all very welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in on a hot, humid, sultry day over here in Luton, Mick. How's Scousland?
Oh my god, roasting, especially in this little study room I've got. It's just like I was going to open the window. I was like, should I put a fan on? The fan's too loud. Birds outside. Like I can't win. So I'm just sweating it out. Just sweating it out. Yeah.
It's definitely bring the fans out. I reckon there's going to be a shortage of fans in the next 2-3 weeks. I think honestly, my advice would be to get them in early. Honestly, go to your Asda's, Tesco's, or wherever people get fans from these days. Grab them because I think we're going to have a hot, humid summer. But when you think of hot, humid summer, pre-season training is the last thing on your mind. But it's something to think about, Mick. Fucking hell, we've had a week or two just to relax and unwind, and maybe the disappointments of the ending to the season still overwhelming our thoughts. The fixtures out today. Well, yeah, today. The fixtures out today, which means we're fucking nearly back at it. How do you feel about that?
I know it's a bit of a mad one, isn't it? After the whole ride that was last season, the whole going for the quadruple, being the furthest team to get to doing it, and then obviously 45 minutes away from a Premier League title, and like the Real Madrid game as well, which is just another one that was difficult to take, but hopefully it'll make us even more hungry again to go again. And I think, what are we, 16th of June, and we've got till the 6th of August, so that's going to fly around that. So I am looking forward to it. Not as much as I usually am, just because I am still a bit worn out from that season. I'm sure the players will be the same. They're like, oh, fucking hell again. But like with the arrivals that we've had so far, then I think that kind of freshens it up a little bit. And when you go back into the training ground, it's a bit fresh faces, and you kind of get that bug back again to have a restart and hit the reset button and go again.
It does. It absolutely does. I'm going to bring up the fixtures list so we can both have a look at it at the same time. That's not it, and that's not it. This one's it. Fixture list came out, and lo and behold, Mick, I believe the fourth time in 5 years. Someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I believe fourth time in 5 years we've got a promoted team on the opening day. The conspiracy theorists will be out and saying this league is made for Liverpool, but that's a load of bollocks. But just generally happy with that. Can't really complain and grumble, can we?
No, I don't think so. Fulham away, Man United away quite early on as well, a third game.
Fucking hell, yeah. I forgot that, yeah.
A lot of away games before Christmas as well, I noticed. Like, you've got United there, you've got Everton, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham. So it's quite a lot of the more difficult
we actually play. So up to the November, as we can see, right, the first game in November, we actually play Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, Man United, all away from home before November, or just by November. So if we take away, like we're saying, the opening games, all right, Fulham away, look, whatever we say, we should beat Fulham. The only thing I will say about playing promoted teams on the first day is you can get a really amazing atmosphere. It can be really jubilant. The crowd can be really up for it. The players really up for it. I'd rather play them when they've had a couple of knocks. Squads are not so deep as the established teams. Do you know what I mean? But look, overall, you can't grumble with Fulham away, right?
Yeah, I think Fulham at home would have been perfect. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like Fulham away, they've just come back up. It's going to be bouncing. If Nico Williams signs for them, we've got Carvalho, so there's a bit of familiarity there with those two as well.
And Elliott.
And Harvey Elliott, of course, as well. So, But yeah, they're a good side. I just think it's a good one for us, and I suppose I think it's a good one for them in a way to get us out of the way, nice
Yeah,
and early doors.
yeah.
But I think it's
Someone.
an early kickoff as well, isn't it? Apparently 12:30.
Oh shit, is it? Can
Apparently
someone
so.
confirm
Yeah.
that if it's an early kickoff? That would be mental atmosphere as well. Then I don't know who. I can't remember now. Someone famous connected with Fulham. I can't remember who it was now. A personality said it's the best and the worst fixture from their point of view. Like, we're back in the Premier League, Liverpool at home, first day of the season. We also know they could batter the shit out of us. Yeah. Mark's confirmed that it is 12:30 BT Sport. Okay.
It wasn't Richard from Pointless, was it? That said that the big fella.
Yes.
Yeah. Richard
Something like
Osman.
that. Richard Osman. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And he's right. You can see it from that angle. Like, you can imagine having one of the big dogs come to your place, first game of the season, buzzing everyone up for it. You also know if we get a couple of goals earlier on, it could be a horrible welcome back to the Premier League for them, right?
Yeah. And I think it is, but like it's for us, it's good, and like I said, I think it's for them, it's good to get it out the way. But if they can, it's win-win for them in a way, because they're expected to lose. If they pull off a bit of an upset in the first game of the season, then it's probably the best time to play a big team as well, because we're trying to get used to things. If we start a few of the new boys in that game as well, then it might be slightly not on top form. And I think the first game of the season, there's always a few shocks, isn't it? But we're pretty good first game of the season. I think Klopp's record probably is the best out of all Premier League managers of all time. I think in terms of plus 5 wins. I think Klopp's won. I think he's won 6 out of his last 7. I think.
Well, and Mo's got an amazing record of scoring on the opening day as well. Apparently, every season he's been here, he's scored on the opening day. So that would be good way to start. I was there at Norwich this last season on the first day, and you're spot on about sort of we're not going to be at full strength as well. So because I remember now, we had Ox starting, we had Milner starting, we had no Fabinho.
It was Ox, Milner, Keita midfield, was it? I think
Ox, Milner, Keita in midfield.
I think, yeah,
it was. Jota started. I remember that. So it was a bit of a patched up midfield. I remember, and we played well. It was comfortable in the end, but it's always that, as you said, you don't know what kind of team we're in. We don't know what kind of fitness levels the guys are going to have, especially after the end of a long season. And then a lot of them have played for their country, which is fucking crazy. They're still playing football. Not now, but they've just played 3-4 games. And then they're going to have a pre-season, a short pre-season, and a quicker turnaround in terms of the league starting the earliest it's ever done as well. There will be, I think you're right, I think there will be a few mixed results for a lot of the teams. It could be anything, you're right. It's just so much uncertainty, Mick, going into this for everyone, especially with another mid-season break in November for the World Cup.
I know, and that's another thing we've got to factor in, isn't it? Like, it's like all those Premier League fixtures you got on the screen there. It looks like they look like they're pretty packed in, and you've obviously got to put the domestic cups in there, Champions League, and then there's the World Cup in there as well. And you're like, oh my god, like it's going to be another hefty season, which is what we want. We want 60 plus games again, because that means we're doing the right things and getting quite far in the cups and in the league as well. So yeah, I think we've got the squad for it anyway. I think obviously we don't know who's going to leave, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but I think we've got the squad for it. And I think missing out on those 2 big trophies, the last part of the season, I think that will put a bit of fire in our belly. And I think we've seen that the last time we'd lost in the Champions League as well. We went on and kicked on and got better from there.
Yeah. Look, if we look at this fixture list then very briefly, look, Crystal Palace seems straightforward. Man United very early. Again, we don't know what state they're going to be. Possibly a good time to play them, like meaning Ten Hag would have had enough time to sort the shit mess they're in. Or it could be that new manager bounce where they've had a good pre-season, they bring in a couple of players. So that's a tricky one. Bournemouth home should take care of itself. Newcastle home, despite whoever they bring in, should take care of itself. We have the first Merseyside derby in September, which is again quite early, Mick, isn't it? Everton away again. what state are they going to be in? We've got Everton away, and September looks a little tricky because Wolves always give us a good game, and then Everton and Chelsea away. So that's probably the first tricky patch, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, Man United, we don't know what.
Mm,
I mean, 9-0 in aggregate last year. Let's hope for something similar, but they're going to have a little bit. They're going to be better. Surely they're going to be better than they were last year. They can't get any worse than that. Hopefully they will. But yeah, that looks like it. United obviously away, and then you've got Everton away, Wolves at home, and Chelsea away. That looks difficult. Then going into like even Brighton are a good side. We know that
they're a good side.
Tricky. So the old cliche, there's no easy game in the Premier League. I think that might be the case, especially in those first couple of months, because there's quite a few clubs there in transition. Like you said, United, where are they gonna be up to? Everton just scraped by staying in the Premier League. Are they gonna recruit and get some players in and try and make a bit of a better?
They have to.
Of it?
They have to. It will be mental if they don't. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, everyone around us is going to have to improve to try to bridge that gap, because again, there was a massive gap between our City and the rest. Again, you know, Chelsea will look to go again, and we'll touch upon a couple of a bit of the Chelsea news as well. But yeah, look, people are saying, excuse me, people are saying that Champions League starts in September as well, and I read somewhere that we're playing away after the Champions League fixtures, and quite big teams away after the Champions League fixtures, which is not ideal. But I guess we just got to deal with it. We're used to it now, aren't we, Mick? This whole squad, the mentality of Klopp and his players. We know what we have to do. We play the most games because we you know, well, last season we fucking played every single game possible. So it's nothing different for us. It's nothing new for us. It's just we're going to have to rely on a lot of luck when it comes to injuries.
Yeah, and I think like going from obviously last year where we done so well, the year previous to that, we were expected to not be anywhere. So the fact that we then went into that season, I think as Liverpool fans, we were expecting to challenge, but we weren't expecting to do what we did in terms of going that far into the season, hunting for the quadruple. So I think that's proved that we're still one of the best in the world. And I think the way obviously Mane going, Nunez coming in, that remains to be seen how good he can be. Hopefully he'll be amazing, but a bit of refresh in the forward line, and I think it gives us a bit of refreshment in terms of going forward and going ahead for this season, and gives us a bit of renewed vigour, I think, going into this season. So I think those fixtures, I think it's pretty good for us, to be fair, those first couple of months, because we can obviously you start getting towards December, you're like, oh, where are we in the table? But I think with the squad that we've got, albeit we don't know who's going to leave yet, I think we've got more than enough to. I think the players in the mind are just thinking we're going to be playing 60 games again. I think if you just have that in your head that you know you're going to be playing 60 games, it means that you're getting far in the cups in the Champions League and Premier League. So you know that you've just got to grin and bear it. And obviously, like you said, we need to be fortunate with injuries, because if we take any big hits to big players in terms of injuries, then we have struggled with the likes of Van Dijk getting injured and stuff, and Gomez and Matip in the same season. That absolutely derailed us. So touch wood, we don't get anything like that, and we can stay injury free, because most of those players pretty much do, to be fair. So I think like we said, with the sports scientist stuff and the coaching staff are pretty good in terms of knowing when to take people out of the firing line and then putting players back in. So I think we'll see a lot more of that next season as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're going to have to, especially with the 5 sub rule. I think we're going to see a lot of early sub. When we say early, we're talking 60 minutes, 65 minutes. A lot of players playing 60-minute games, as as they would go. But yeah, look, fixture list. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what you're like when it comes to fixture list. I don't really get excited, or it's not something that I look forward to. Like, sort of, you know, like a lot of people on Twitter was like, "Oh, well, the fixtures come out tomorrow." You look for the few big ones, and then the rest you just deal with as they come along, because it's so impossible to think ahead, Nick. It's just so, you don't know what state you're going to be in. You don't know what level of fitness the other team's going to be in, sort of in terms of personnel, injuries, etc., etc. But yeah, look, it is what it is. The fixtures list is out. Just very, very quickly at the end, briefly, April looks probably the most horrible one there, right? Yeah, probably looks the most
Yeah.
horrible. Again, we've got
Wow.
Tottenham near the end there. We've got City away. We've got West Ham away. That probably looks the trickiest running, I guess. Or I guess, I don't know, which way do you look at it? Do you look at May, the running? Because that looks pretty favourable. So again, it's one of those ones, isn't it? Yeah, the running looks okay, but then the build up to the running looks a bit tricky. Like April looks a bit tricky to me.
Yeah, I think that's City away, and is it the 1st of April? Obviously, we have no idea what's going to happen until then. But we've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games after that. So I think to summarize, we just need to do better.
Pretty much like this season, right? Pretty much like this season. The Man City
we need to
game.
do what we've done this season, but I mean, some of the obviously we know last season we drew 6 out of 6 against the top 4. Which is something that needs to change, and obviously, hopefully, with the arrival of Núñez and obviously Carvalho and Ramsey and whoever else, obviously Ramsey probably won't be a first teamer, but Carvalho and Núñez probably will be in and around that a bit more. It gives, like I said, us a bit of renewed vigor in there, and we can, I don't know, have a bit more firepower, I think, and a bit more creativity in our final third. Albeit we've got loads already. But I think it's to have that little bit more, and like you said, with the 5 subs, we can make subs on 60 and bring on the likes of Carvalho and Núñez, that we can maybe sneak a late goal and win those games. That I think when you look back last year, like some of the games that we did draw against the top 4, we should have probably won, like the Chelsea game, and both of them really, both the Spurs games, the City, like first City game, obviously they play quite well, but there's a lot of games there where I think we've lost it. We've lessened our performance to let them back into it to draw rather than them getting back into it, I believe. And I think that's something that we can take heart in and that we can improve on going into next year.
No, you're right. You're spot on. Do what Tapping Tobe says, my good friend. He says, smash the likes, people. Please go ahead and smash those likes. It's good you spoke about sort of reinforcements, refreshments, because it's always good. It's always good to refresh, and it gives you an extra buzz. It gives you an extra excitement. We've had the big buzz of the big signing in Darwin Núñez. We had a good start in terms of the confirmation of Carvalho that we pretty much knew was going to be done, obviously, since January. 2 of the most, I'd say, talented youngsters about, obviously, price-wise, one extreme to the other. One's a snip at 5 million, one's 85 million, roundabouts. I'm equally as excited for both, Nick. I don't know what your thoughts are. We haven't spoken about Darwin Núñez, I don't think, or maybe we have. But yeah, I'm equally as excited as to see both of them come in. I think Fabio Carvalho will play a lot more than people envisage. In terms of not maybe starting, but he'll get a lot of appearances because I think he'll try to be blooded in as much as possible. And I genuinely think he's good enough as well. Just a quick overview on those 2 signings before we go on to today's talking point.
Yeah, I think so. I hope Carvalho plays more than we expect him to. I think he's got enough quality. Obviously, he's done very well for Fulham, albeit it's a different ball game coming into the Premier League, but I think it's one that he'll relish. And I think you see the type of goals that he scored last year, like and his creativity in the final third. That's something that you can't be understated how important that can be, because he can travel with the ball. He's got pace. He's got agility. He's quite Coutinho-esque for me, the way that he plays those passes and cuts out the lines. So if he's anywhere near as good as Coutinho was, then bloody hell, what a player we've got. And I think he's got an eye for the goal as well. And I think that's something that, like you said, the 5 subs, refreshing the team, 70 minutes, 60, 70 minutes, bringing on players like that, it can't be, that can be absolutely key, I think, going into this season, because I think years gone by, obviously last year we were a little bit better bringing players off the bench and them having an impact, but I think having those 2 coming off the bench, for example, is it's a lot stronger. And I think if you're on the opposition side, you're looking over going, oh, bloody hell, they're bringing on these 2. Like, we've just had an hour of whoever, Jota or Bobby or whatever, now they're bringing on Darwin Núñez and Fabio Carvalho, who they're going to cause havoc. So it's little things like that, and I think that goes into what I said before about us drawing 6 against the top 4 last year. That's something that those games we need to do a lot better. I think it's against the lower teams. I think we've got to the point where we figure them out and we can get through. I think obviously the Brighton games and whatever was a bit tricky last year, but I think in majority we can figure teams out. And we've got enough firepower, but it's the bigger games where we need to have those options off the bench, like City have, that they can just bring someone on and they can have an impact. And I think it's little things like that it's those little marginal gains that win you league titles. And I think that's something we needed to address, and I think we have.
I think you're spot on. I think Klopp and Kall would have looked at the draws, specifically the draws. You know, defeats can happen. You can have a bad day at the office, and what was it? 2 defeats only we had in the season? Was it 2 defeats in the Premier League? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, but it was the draws. I think, as you said, 6 or 8 draws. I think even that really hampered us in the end. We've got our first super chat of the night. Selection sends in a super chat. He said, "We'll be fine. Can't see us." Then he goes on to say, "Can't see us winning the league." think City will wrap up the league around February. Tired of being runners up. Thought we'd bring in a midfield, but okay. I don't know what to say. Selection. We'll be fine. I can see us winning the league. I don't think City will have it wrapped up around February. I'm not tired of being runners up because I'm really enjoying watching this team and supporting them week in, week out. So I can't be tired of supporting this team. Look, only one team can win the league. You know, the margins of error are so low. You know, it can be us, it can be them. I'm not going to sit here and say we'll have it wrapped by February. What I will say is we'll be there or thereabouts. And look, as a supporter of a football club or a team, that's all you can hope for, that you're in the running for all the big prizes. And I genuinely think we're going to be in the running for all the prizes. With regards to your last line, I thought we'd bring in a midfielder, but okay if we don't. So I agree with you in a lot of what you said there. I just disagree that you can't see us winning the league. I can. You think City will wrap it up? I don't. The rest, really appreciate the super chat as always. Appreciate. We're going to go on to today's main headline. Where is it? Well, with regards to Liverpool anyway. The Godfather, midday, broke the news of our 3rd acquisition of this window, Mick. Liverpool agreed deal for Aberdeen's Calvin Ramsey, which is set to be their last incoming transfer of the window. Prepared to wait until 2023 for midfield reinforcements. The first part, great stuff, great news. Again, a young player that's very highly thought of, record amount of assists in Scotland over there, which we like. We like fullbacks that assist, don't we? We've got 2 of the finest in the world. We've got another young prospect who is attack-minded, plays in the mold of more Trent than a Gomez, you know. So there's an option and there's a variety on a game-per-game basis if we ever wanted to rotate. Just your thoughts on, I know we've spoken about the player before, so just happy to have it wrapped up. There was a bit of drama, wasn't there, that, oh, we might not get this because Aberdeen are asking for more money, whatever. But in the end, we've got the kid. Good acquisition to have at a good age. Can only get better, will get better, and his desire to be with us again shown through.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it before on another show. Like he's 5 years Trent senior. So
yeah,
Neil Williams is 3 years Trent senior. So and with Trent above you, you're never getting in. But 5 years, he's got a very high ceiling, and I think obviously he wanted us, we wanted him. He's got all the tools to be a top fullback, and it looks like a really good deal. And I think it's not a deal that you go, oh yes, get in. We've signed like a world class right back that everyone, I imagine, wants, mostly on Twitter anyway, that you see and wherever. But it's one of them that you're building for the future. And like I think you've said it before, like Liverpool 2.0, like slowly building the next line of what Liverpool could be in the next 7 to 8 years, rather than the next 3 to 4 years. We're always looking ahead, the bigger picture, and it's little things like that I think set us apart from other clubs. I think clubs just go, yeah, we'll have this player, and he's going to come in and have an instant impact, which we do, and we have done, and we've done it with Núñez. Obviously, Carvalho was a bit different, but this one's a bit more of a future signing. I think he's got all the tools to be as good as he wants to be. I think he's a confident kid. He's got a lot of attributes that I think tick the box in terms of what Trent is as well. So I think he's quite similar. He's got the pace. I think maybe not 100% defensively like Trent is, but in terms of getting forward, an eye for a cross and assist. And he got 9 assists last year. I mean, it was a Scottish league, but still 9 assists is pretty good in a league like that. And yeah, it's a good signing for us going forward. And it's one of them that we don't know. Obviously, we've seen bits of him, but we don't know how good he's going to be. So you kind of just go, it's a good signing. What's going to happen now? I think that's when it comes down to it, and we start seeing appearances from him. Then we can make the assessment that this kid is going to be good going forward. And I think that's then when people's fears are allayed in terms of why we signing players like this who are not going to be in the first team for maybe 4 to 5 years. And I can understand the concern about needing imminent signings that are fresh and can go straight in the first team, but you need to have like players in the pipeline like this who can come in and do a real good job in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, from the people that we speak to in regards to watching him on a regular basis, talk about his technique of striking the ball, his crossing ability, his set piece ability. I think I've spoken about before, he's got a good size on him already, and he'll only get bigger and stronger as well. And yeah, it looks good. But obviously the second part of that news really, what's the word I'm looking for? Stirred the pot. Bee's nest. Got really poked the bee's nest, got everyone going, and I think we've got one of them in the chat. Aaron's really unhappy. Grizz, you are shameless. Fuck off with this positive shit. We will not win anything next season. He's then he goes on to say our midfield is effing dead, and then he says, we're not signing a midfielder. So I've given, don't say I don't give you airtime, Aaron. I've let you get everything off your chest there, and you've had your part. Any more swearing, and then I'll ask the mods to block you. So I've given you your airtime. I've given you your say. Any more, I'll ask the mods to block you. No more swearing, Aaron. I know you're frustrated and it's hot. We all are. Mick, Paul Joyce, Dave Maddock, and I believe Chris Bascom. I don't know if anyone can confirm that. 3 top Liverpool journalists came out at the same time, which always indicates briefed from the club as opposed to their opinions, suggests that that's our business done for the summer, and we shall wait, which is the key part of it all, was we should prepare to wait until 2023 for midfield reinforcements. How was you when you read that? How did you feel? I don't know how I felt. I felt, okay, it's still early. Plans change, thoughts change, availability in the market changes. So many different factors to take into place to have a definitive view right now. June the 16th. Far too many factors, moving parts to have a definitive opinion June the 16th, right?
Yeah, and I think we've seen it before, like with journalists coming out going, oh, we're not interested in this player, or we're not going to sign this player because Klopp's happy with this player. And I think it's, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts there. We don't know who's going to leave yet, and it depends on that. I think there's a midfield, like Oxlade-Chamberlain. There's a few midfielders who might want to move on, and then obviously we need to make a move based on that. Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain didn't think he got a sniff for the last half of the season. Pretty much, he didn't play at all, really. He wasn't even in the squad for most of the games.
After that cup.
The Forest game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I wouldn't take that as like a concrete thing that we're not signing another person, because I think that we're not going to come out and say, oh yeah, but we want to sign one more player, because that's going to put all the clubs on alert that, oh yeah, let's watch out for our midfielders. Let's ask for treble the money or double the money, because they're in the market for a midfielder. It's just the way it is. Like, we're not going to openly admit that, but I still do think we'll be looking around, but it depends. Like we touched on before we started like going live, like the targets that Klopp wants, we know that Klopp doesn't waver from the ones that he wants. So if we want like a Bellingham, for example, and he's happy to wait till next year to get him potentially, then that's perfect. But it's like you said, if we don't then get him, then that's when it's like, well, are we waiting for the Bellingham and then we're not getting Bellingham and we're settling for a second best, or do we need to go out now and get someone that we know that we can get and it's the more attainable than a Bellingham, and we're not going to have more trouble getting them next year? I don't know. It's a difficult one. Like I said, there's moving parts, so we need to. You kind of just going with the flow in terms of that. Like, but we've kind of bought where we need to. Obviously, Mane's off. We'd signed Nunes. We've got a creative midfielder, slash winger in Carvalho. We've got backup for Trent in Ramsey. Obviously, Nico Williams going the other way to Fulham. So we've sorted out positions that we need, and I think midfield is definitely something I think we do need. But we've had this before where we get into the season and then these players start popping up, like Harvey Elliott that had a bad injury. They can come back into the fold. Obviously, Curtis Jones gets a lot of grief, but he's a good, talented footballer that has played a lot of football for Liverpool Football Club. So he's obviously a decent footy player. And there's players like that we need to maybe trust a little bit more going into next year. But I know that's not the sexy answer that people want, is it? People want the players here and now, and I get that frustration a little bit. But it's, if you don't trust Klopp now, when will you ever trust him? And that's just the way I look at it.
I don't know if there's nearly 300 of you in here. Hope you've hit the like button. If you haven't, please do so. It just helps with the algorithms. That's the only reason I'm greedy for likes, because I'm trying to grow this channel to bring you more regular, better content. But if the majority of you in here were watching our show yesterday, some great chat. I mean, I thought Dan and Steve were brilliant. And Mick, we actually chopped it all up, right? And we actually tried to be rational and level-headed about how we attack the transfer window and what are the different options we could have. And we kind of discussed everything that we could have in terms of, we don't know what plans we have in terms of a formation change, right? That's very important, because who's to say that we're not planning a different way of playing, especially with the signing of Nunes. So I know we've discussed as well in terms of, imagine, and it's not even imagine, I think there's a very strong possibility that we go 4-2-3-1 next season, for example, right? Now, if we're suggesting that we need 2 central midfielders, then we've got suddenly 5-6 players who can play as a pivot, which would suggest we're overstocked, right? From one angle, from one thing, from one aspect. But I also get why some section of the fan base, like you said, would be confused, because if we don't get Bellingham, then there will be a bit of an inquisition in terms of, well, why didn't we strengthen that area if we weren't, not guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed, but pretty much assured about Bellingham. So it is a tricky one, but again, there's so much uncertainty at this stage. And there's way too much uncertainty to blow a fuse. That was my point on Twitter this morning. A lot of people agreed with what I said. A lot of people disagreed, which is part and parcel of the game, isn't it? You say something, people agree with you, disagree with you. But my main point was, it's way too early. And it's way too, what's the word? I don't want to say negative, but we can only go by what we've seen from this squad, this coach of ours, in terms of how he's recruited and how he's built and performed in the last few seasons. Now, how many people said the same thing last season? Even let's take it back. In our title-winning season, do you remember the hoo-ha and uproar about not us signing anyone? And then when we went on and had the league title wrapped up by February, like that previous message said earlier on. Again, last season, we only bring in Khanage, and there's a whole heap of noise around social media. Oh my God, is that all we've done? And we nearly completed football. We nearly complete football, Mick. And on the back of that, we add one of the most sought after attackers in world football, breaking our transfer record. We bring in a brilliant young attacker from the Championship who's the outstanding player in the Championship. And we bring an understudy to Trent, all for under 100 million, all done in the first week of the transfer window, where now we sit back and we enjoy everyone panicking, going mad, stressing out. And if anybody wants our players, we're not going to get shafted. We get what we want, because nobody's going to think they'll accept that because they need to go and buy play X, Y, Z. I think we've done a smart move. I think even this ploy by putting it out in the media, I don't think we should take it as gospel. I think there's moving parts. I just think enjoy, relax, and look forward to watching this amazing team again. Now, if that's being a delusional fucktard, like Aaron called me or something along those lines, then so be it. I'm happy to be in this position. I really am. I don't see why sections of the fan base are forcing me, and I'll only speak for myself, to be sad and negative and pessimistic about life. That's how I feel, Mick. I don't know how you feel. Feel free to feel sad, down, and negative and pessimistic.
No, I completely agree. And I think we've got, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Like, we've gone into those seasons and we're pining for another body, and Klopp's proven that we can get by without. And I can see both sides, though. I can see why.
We did, Mick. Check out tonight's show, because looks like you ain't watched it as well. So shame on you as well. Go and check out last night's show. It was an absolute banger. And you know what? That's exactly what we said. We said we can see all the different points of view, and we're okay with majority of them.
Yeah, and I think it's the risk, and I think you can't have that. You can't just have like loads of stockpile world-class players just ready to come in. That's just not the way. I mean, obviously we don't operate that way, and Klopp doesn't like to operate that way. He prefers to operate with a smaller squad, albeit those players stay fit. But like you said, like, we've gone into those other seasons and we've got by just fine with the players that we have. We've got in, obviously we've brought in, though, like you said, those 3 players, and it's the 16th of June. That's quite unusual for us to do that business so soon. And now, like you said, we can sit back and go, right, if someone wants one of our players, you're gonna have to pay a good price for them. And if that happens, then we might make a move for someone else. I think it's that, like you said, the moving part. We don't know. You can't, like Paul Joyce could say, no, we're not going to buy anyone else. But if Oxlade-Chamberlain gets sold to someone next week, we'll be back I'm pretty sure we'll be back in the market for someone else. It just depends if he wants to stay and if he wants to stick around. But from what I've seen the end of last season, like we've just talked about, like, not being involved since the Forest game in the Cup, it looks like the writing's on the wall a little bit for him. So yeah, I don't get the doom and gloom, but yeah, I'll probably go and watch that show last night. I watched some of it. I didn't watch it all, to be fair. But you can see both sides, and of course, you can't be blind to go, oh yeah, well, we'll be completely fine, and just be, oh yeah, we'll get a couple of injuries, we'll be fine. If we get a couple of injuries, it's going to be a bit more of a struggle. But I think Klopp's earned the trust, hasn't he? Surely, obviously, we had that crazy season where we lost Van Dijk and whatever, and we were derailed completely, like I said before. But you're hoping that we buy these players because of the whole package, the quality, they've got the personality, and they're also durable as well. That's why we take into account the whole picture. And I think the players that we've signed so far, and obviously add Ramsey into that mix, then it just bulks up the squad a little bit more than what we had last year, I think. And I mean, obviously Mane leaving, and if obviously Origi's leaving, and you've got probably Taki leaving as well. So I can understand we're losing a lot of goals there, like maybe a lot of firepower off the bench. But once we see Nunes, once we see Carvalho, I think those fears will be allayed a little bit, because people will maybe realise that these players that we've signed are cut out for the Premier League, and they can bag as more goals than they can off the bench.
It is. I mean, look, again, sometimes we have short memories. Only last season, at the start of the season, have we forgotten the impact Elliott made on us all. We thought, wow, what a wonderful talent we've got, and Klopp played him in midfield. Look, I get the concerns. I'm with you. again, I'll reiterate my opinion, because you should only give your opinion. You should never try to speak on behalf of a fan base, because that's stupid. So I personally think, Mick, we should bring in another body in midfield. But my point is, if we don't, I won't give up. I won't see it as a stick to bash the owners, Klopp, and this team with. I'll say, okay, they deserve my trust at the very least, and support if I want to be known as a Liverpool supporter. I mean, the easy option is don't support Liverpool. Then if you don't respect and trust what they're doing, and if you're not feeling it, then go and support a team that buys loads of players every summer and every window, and do what you've got to do. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have an opinion and we think X, Y, Z. I just think this need to be giving up already, like people have. Oh, that's it. This is what it is. We're done for the season. It doesn't make any sense to me. But if it does to you, then feel free. Like people were saying, well, I was getting replies of, I feel sad and I feel angry. Let me be. And I said, look, I can't stop you, mate. No problem. If you feel angry and you feel sad, no problem. Go and feel angry and sad. But stop trying to infiltrate my brain with that negativity and sadness and angry. I've just literally I'm broke after supporting this team up and down the country nearly every week, watching them, giving me one of the best seasons of my life. How the hell am I going to give up on them just because we haven't brought in a player that I think we need? So I think we need, but the guys that make the calls and decisions know far more than me. I'm humble enough to admit that. But look, each to their own. We it's not a matter of forcing people to think like you and whatever. Everyone gives their opinion, and everyone has a platform, whether it's small or big, to say what you want to say. And Selection, you've sent in the super chat, so you have the platform to give your opinion. You say, Grizz, let's say we get Bellingham, like people seem to be optimistic we have him bagged, and we drop 100 million on him, and Salah leaves on free. What then? Well, I don't know. What then? What do you mean, Selection? Bellingham will be, in my opinion, a player that we've secured that will play for us for minimum 5-6 seasons secured, and a wonderful talent in that. Salah will have been an icon, a legend, probably the greatest Premier League scorer in Liverpool's history, and will have given us 6 seasons by then. And if he doesn't extend, he will go. So it will be, and I'll totally expect and totally hope and expect Liverpool to replace him with whoever they think will be the next possible legend icon for Liverpool Football Club. That's how I see it, Selection. That's my honest answer. Mick, have you got a different answer or different opinion to that one?
No, I think people are saying in the comments, if that happens, then we expect a replacement for Salah, and I think Klopp will expect a replacement for Salah. I think that's the thing. Like we need a Bellingham, which would be crazily good, by the way, to get a Jude Bellingham into our squad would be amazing. But we then need to replace the output and the unbelievable output that Mo Salah gives. Obviously, from January onwards, he weren't at his best, but before then, and I think hopefully going into this new year, I think he'll be at his best going into hopefully not the last year of his Liverpool career, because I think he's got a lot more to give. So we're just hoping he signs. But I think a lot of people in the comments are just like kind of getting worried about everything. I think if you can't trust, I mean, it's the boring as fuck answer. Like just saying, if you can't trust Klopp now, when will you ever? But
what's the other option, Nick? My always reply to that is, well, what's the other option?
Yeah. Because we could sit here till midnight just going, if we sell him, we'll buy him. But then if we sell him, if we sign this player, we'll have to get rid of this player. And that's what Liverpool have to do. We have to steady the books. That's just the way our business runs. We're not a Man City. We can't just go splashing the cash and getting whoever we want and just obviously not recouping it at least partially in some way. But if you don't trust Klopp now in terms of obviously midfield, we all want a midfield. I think we can agree on that. But if Klopp decides that's not the right route to get one this year, and we start the season without getting another one, then we look to the likes of a Harvey Elliott, we look to the likes of a Curtis Jones. If Oxlade-Chamberlain wants to stick around and get stuck back in, then he showed last year in the beginning of the season anyway that he's more than good enough to do that. But that's not the sexy answer. That's not the answer that people want online, unfortunately. But yeah, it's one of them things where people always bring up Wijnaldum again, and that's just like, just get on with it. Like, you've just got to accept.
Yeah, no,
and like,
I'm not even gonna.
It's
I'm
the
not even.
people
Yeah.
that want players. Like you said, they try and force it a little bit to see their point of view, but we're not denying that point of view. We're openly accepting that point of view, but we're saying that we can't do anything to change that. If we could, we would, but we can't. But we've got the best people in charge to make those decisions, so we've just got to trust it and see what happens. That's all we can do. We can't do anything different than that.
Selection sent in another super chat to try to explain what he meant. I'm so sorry if I didn't understand, but I think we did get there in the end, and he confirms it. Would we replace Salah or wait another season is my point, like we're doing now. I'd expect us to replace him straight away, Selection, because he's so integral, so important. Just like we've done with Mane, just like we've done with Bobby, in effect as well, because Jota and Diaz have been signed. So the thing is, Mick, it's so easy to look past at what we've done and disregard it. So, in effect, Mick, we've got three fantastic, young, hungry, forward stroke attackers already in place in terms of Núñez, Jota, and Diaz. Why are we suddenly just forgetting all that? Like it hasn't happened. And Carvalho add to that as well. So that's four attackers, stroke, forwards, whatever you want to call them. We've just snuck in there. All right, we didn't sneak in Darwin Núñez because you can't fucking sneak him in. He's 7 foot tall and got tattooed everywhere. You can't sneak him in. But you get what I'm saying, right? We've quietly done our business with the other lads. We've just got to see how they develop under the stewardship of Pep and Klopp and give them time to become the next possible icon legends in the Mane, Bobby, and Salah modes. That's how it works, right, Mick? I thought.
Yeah, and I think it's like I said earlier, like we don't. The importance of Carvalho and Núñez won't be fully felt until we see them in a red shirt and we see just how good they are. Then we can all make the judgment that they're good enough and they're going to push us to another level and they're going to keep us fresher for hopefully as long as we can next year. But yeah, we just need to, like you said, we've snuck them in, but like you said, like Jota 25, Diaz 25, Núñez soon to be 23, and then obviously you've got Salah and Bobby still there as well, and Firmino. So there's a lot of players there that like we've got that you've got to just look at and go, yeah, that is like really top quality. And like Firmino, like all of those players can play a variety of positions as well, and that's another thing that we obviously look to do when we signed Carvalho, because we don't even know what his best position is yet. He hasn't kicked the ball for us, but looks like maybe left wing, but I'm sure he can play on the left of the midfield three at some point in the future, like Harvey Elliott has gone on to do for us, coming back from a right winger to a right side of midfielder. So it's little things like that where you just got to go, yeah, we've got the talent in place there. We just need to hope that the players that we've got and the potential that they've shown, the likes of Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Carvalho, and Núñez, going into this season, the younger kids and the younger lads can show the worth this year. And I think it's like that. If they don't show it, then there's going to be people smashing the keyboards apart saying, oh, we should have signed someone. But if they show it and they prove how good they are, then we go, oh, Klopp was right to do what he did. And it's like that.
Yeah, but they won't. But the thing is, they won't admit that. No, but they won't admit that.
Yeah,
like,
well, exactly.
So look, just to be fair, I try to bring in statements that people think that, so tallest 93, agendas in swing. We're not allowed to criticize now. Great when we see things that need improving. I forgot we just sit here and accept my bad. I don't know what to say to that. I've literally just said You are allowed to criticize. You are allowed to have an opinion. This is why I'm letting you speak away. I've not blocked you. I've brought your statement out. Uh, you're allowed to say what you want and do what you want. We're just trying to chat about it in terms of how we feel about it. Like Mick might disagree with a lot of what I think, and we're ready to disagree and have a debate about it. But it's not. We're not saying you're not allowed to criticize. And people are saying, are they infallible? Of course not. Of course not. No ownership, no coach, no team is perfect. Never has been. You're allowed to say what you want, criticize what you want. All I said is, I'm a glass half full person, and I like enjoying my team and looking forward to my team. That's all I've said. Now, if we don't sign anyone, we have a disastrous season, I'll be the first one to have a shout and a moan. Not that it will change anything, but I'll have a shout and a moan.
Yeah.
I'll say, Mick, I told you we need a fucking centre midfielder. We'll argue, we'll shout at each other, we swear at each other, we'll have a drink, and we'll carry on supporting Liverpool Football Club.
And I think what people maybe misunderstand is us saying this, like we're happy to, if we don't sign a midfielder, we're going to be maybe like, oh, we probably do need one. I think we all agree we probably do need one, another body in there. If we don't, and then it ends up going wrong, then we can come on and do another show and go, yeah, you guys are right. And we knew it had potential to happen. I think that's the thing. It's the like going into a season and just hoping players do well or players don't get injured. Of course, you need that bit of luck, but then you're hoping that these, like I said, players fulfill the potential and they go out and do well, and we can push on another level. But we need that to happen. And if it doesn't happen, I'll happily come back on the show and go, yeah, it didn't happen, because if we did sign a midfielder, maybe it would have been different, maybe it wouldn't have been. But there's so many variables in football, like we said, like we don't know who's going to leave yet. It could still happen, and it's just little minute details like that once the ball starts get rolling in terms of certain transfers, then we can make decisions, but on the back of that.
Appreciate the support. 1975 Jamrock sends the super chat. This is downright embarrassing, the meltdown I'm seeing. Yeah, look, there's aspects of the meltdown that I find embarrassing. To others, it may not be. To others, it's justified. And that's what it's about, guys. It's football. That's what it's about. Not everyone has to sit there and agree with everything. Not everyone has to sit there and moan about everything. You know, you try to find a balance based on the evidence and proof in front of you and what your team, the level of enjoyment it brings to you, the level of success is achieved. And then you base your opinions on that. And based on that, the last 5-6 seasons under this manager tells me I should give an opinion, of course, but my God, I should trust him and trust them. That's where I'm at. Enough of the Liverpool chat. Nick, yeah, it kind of drags you down when it doesn't need to be dragged down. How dare you drag me down whilst I'm a Liverpool fan? Liverpool fans, how crazy is that? Should be fucking top of the world. Because we started chatting too much, I wasn't able to bring it up on the screen. But basically, someone we've scouted and we're interested in, apparently in the recent past, Fabio Vieira of Porto, a little playmaker in the mold of David Silva, I believe. We were strongly linked with him. We liked him. Arsenal have pipped a lot of teams apparently to him. Around the 30 million mark. Good player. I don't think he would have been priority on their list, high up on their list. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think it's a good sign, and obviously I haven't seen a huge amount of him. I've obviously seen some Champions League games, some of their games where he's played in, and he's a tidy player, good player, like good carrying the ball forward, all the things you want in the midfielder, he ticks them, and I think it'd be a good sign for them. But then you look at the likes of potentially, like we said, Basuma for Spurs as well. There's players that I think social media isn't great sometimes, because you see these players getting linked all the time and then they sign for the clubs, and you take that as like Liverpool not being active, whereas obviously Klopp's got all these players in a massive list somewhere and he's decided that that's not the player for them, albeit whatever the reason is, he doesn't want to do that deal. So Yeah, I mean, we don't know until he signs, but he looks like a good player. He looks like he probably would be a good fit for Arsenal. I'm not sure about the fee, but you don't know until he pulls on the shirt, I
Yeah.
suppose.
I mean, to me, the reason why I kind of questioned it in terms of priority. Now, he's a good player. He adds to their squad. Absolutely. I'm not denying any of that. I just thought Odegaard and Smith Rowe kind of play in his position, and they got very high hopes for them, especially Odegaard. Well, especially both of them. But Odegaard showed that he's a fantastic young player last season. So I would have thought they would have looked to, if they've got a limited budget, because this suggests they've got quite a bit of a budget. If they've gone and splashed 35 million on him nice and early, when the need for a striker and a central midfielder like Bissouma is probably far more, then fair play to them. Apparently they're in talks with Gabriel Jesus as well overnight. That's just come out as well now. Another good signing for them. So fair play to the Arsenal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But then they've got to, right? Because they're fucking desperate.
Yeah, obviously they've lost Aubameyang, they've lost Lacazette, so a forward striker, and I really rate Jesus. I really do. Like, I think he got put on the right side of a forward three for City because he works his ass off, which makes sense. But he's got an eye for a goal. I think he's a quality player, and I've got one of my best mates as a City fan, and I've long since said, like, one of the City players I'd take off here is Jesus, to be fair, because he's one of those players that would, in terms of a false nine for us, I think covering a variety of positions, he'd be good. And I think for Arsenal, he makes them a lot better, I think, going forward. Obviously, 50 million as well isn't too bad, considering that, what is he, 20, was he 23, 24, Jesus? So, I might be completely wrong there, but either way, he's a talented
I like
fella.
him as well. I think he's got the energy, the pressing, everything that the Arsenal fans probably want to see in their players, a bit more passion. And he's coming from a winning mentality above all, Mick. He's coming from Man City, and that can only help with the youngsters around him that he's going to have. And the other thing is he's going to be the focal point. He's going to be the number one at Arsenal, which obviously he was never going to be at Pep. Like, every time he had a good game, Pep would fucking drop him next game or rotate him the next game. Do you know what I mean? So you couldn't build up any rhythm. We're going to wrap up, even though I've been told by the Young Bucks homes that tell Mick that the competition quiz is going to be delayed to 9:30. I think Love Island might have something to say about that, probably. That's why they've decided to do that. Yeah. Well, Young Bucks says it all. Young Bucks watch Love Island. It is what it is. But I've told them that you guys are going to fucking batter them in that quiz. So I don't know if you want to take it easy.
Steve, isn't it? Me and Steve versus the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I said it's going to be a walkover. I'm not going to lie. People, 9:30, it's the Young Bucks versus the RedFellas. Yeah, it could be carnage. Pardon the pun. It could be. But you never know. Conroy might have taken a bung. I'm not going to say anything. He might have taken a bung, and it could be closer than we think. But go and check these guys out at 9:30 on this channel. So that should be fun and games, hopefully. But yeah, Gabriel Jesus, Vieira, Lukaku going off to Inter Milan, back to Inter Milan. That's a horrible, horrible disaster. And I don't want to sound like I know it all, because we're fucking far not. We're just everyday people like everyone else. But who would have thought Grealish, Sancho, Lukaku, Varane, all these big high-profile signings that we cried and moaned about as Liverpool fans? Oh my God, we're standing still, and all these teams have spent millions and millions catching up to us. Who's laughing at Lukaku? An absolute disaster of a signing, Mick.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we said earlier. Like, I don't think signings are epitomise progression, because we've shown that it doesn't. Obviously, Lukaku, like you said, the players you've listed there, Jesus Christ, like the amount spent on those players, and it's a reason why, to quote James Milner, we don't sign knobheads. And I think that's one of the key things that we do, because, like we said, like, if we want a midfielder and it doesn't happen because there's only knobheads available, i.e. Bissouma, then we're going to wait a year and get someone who isn't a knobhead and fits the bill. So yeah, the Lukaku one's crazy. Like, it's crazy money, and the fact that he's then going off again. Yeah, it's imagine it was us. Imagine it was Liverpool. We'd absolutely be getting slated.
But you can't. But the thing is, Mick, we're so brilliantly run. You can't imagine it being us even.
It wouldn't be us ever.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And people don't see that. People don't see that. You can't even imagine it being us. But look, I don't know when we're going to learn. Like, even us, we have our moments as well, and everyone else. I don't know when we're going to learn to sort of enjoy and appreciate the times we're living in. These are the times we say, look, you can't win everything all the time. You know, we won 2 out of 4 trophies, 4 defeats in 64 games. You know, a couple of draws that we moaned about. Me and Mick actually moaned about a couple of the draws. So we weren't, everything was perfect. We actually spoke about draws that we can improve on, or we look to improve on. And that's what we're going to do. I'm looking forward to preseason. I'm not going to let anyone drag me down to the level. If you want to be down, sad, negative, no problem. I can't stop you. Honestly. And I invite you to come and have a chat if you want to as well, because we'll talk about it. I'm not going to drown you out. We'll talk about it, but I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be happy. Mick, we were supposed to do 30, 40 minutes, but fucking hell, me and you can chat, can't we? Fucking.
To be honest, I put a few bottles in the freezer at like
helped you get along. Yeah,
they're gonna be proper frozen now. I'll have to shoot down them and get them.
yeah. Perfect. Get them ready for the quiz. You've got extra half an hour to have a little bit of a rest before we go again on that quiz. People, there's still over 300 of you loyal ultras. Talking of which, I've got a membership coming out, and I'll give you more information about that. Check out Mick's socials, they're in the description as well. Go and give him a follow. Go and give his podcast a follow as well. It's all in the description. It's all in the go check it out. This has been your daily show. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow I've got Matisse, my friend from the Big Six, the Chelsea fan. That should be a cracking show. I'm going to really wind him up about Lukaku and, you know, everything else around Chelsea. So that should be good fun. Check us out tomorrow. I don't even do an outro for this. So take care, everyone. That's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from me. Take care.
A bit.